Hi everyone, it's Zach with Palantir Research, bombarding you with a second video for today. We do get a sneak peek from Axios on Alex Karp's speaking segment at WEF 2024.
America spends less than 1% on AI in the military. In America needs to spend at least 1% on AI-enhanced battle systems, and every year, or at least every 6 months, in my view, you should add another point. And then it's very important to look at which programs are working, which software is proven on the battlefield. Basically, in business, people forget a banality. You win where you're winning. You have to take the central blessing that America has, which is AI, and the tech companies that are in this space. You also have to tell some of these tech companies, you cannot work in America and with our adversaries, and if you do, we're going to screw you. Some of the people in the room will not like this, to pick sides. You cannot sell to all sides. And that's we have to stop the transfer of this IP to our adversaries. We have to increase the amount of spending in the US DoD, and we have to make sure that spending actually goes to where it works. And I'll say something that many of my colleagues, the hawkish colleagues, will not like. In software, it does not matter how much you spend. It matters who got the money and did it work. I'm actually very aligned with the venture community. I spent all my life hating the venture people because obviously there's a lot to hate. But but I'm very aligned with them on like Israel stuff right now because they know it's a strong tech company and I believe they're a part of the West and we should fight for them. But the companies that are doing well or in intermediate and large are going to get almost all the value. And I would be very careful if you're considering going to a small AI company. Think about it a lot. I'm actually an economic progressive, so I think the real issue is, well, what do we do to take care of the people who aren't participating? But I think it's a fact that the big and the intermediate big are going to get much, much bigger. But I mean, so there's always a tendency, and you'll see this. What you'll see in the U.S. tech community is it's like half lies that somehow turn you into a product that don't make any sense. You notice that you're being a little more miserable, but they kind of work. Or you'll find people that bend their moral narrative, so what I'm doing is good. So I know what Palantir's doing is crucial to the world, especially on the battlefield, and I love the American GDP story because I, in all modesty, think there's not much good in this world without America being strong. Okay. However, it is clearly a problem for America and every other country that all the money basically is going to go to a couple players. And we have a societal problem. How do you make sure everyone else has teeth and health and education and things that actually give people an opportunity? That is a really big societal problem. And talking about like all sorts of things that in my view make no sense, like weird permutations of identity politics, is not going to fix the problem. The dislocation between America and Europe is the startup scene here is anemic, and the real growth and providers are in America. There's another thing which is particularly disadvantageous, which is the idea, not throwing shade on any startups, but most people who actually make money on AI are going to already be established people implementing AI in various forms. So strong military gets stronger, strong software companies get stronger. People who are in a weaker position get much weaker.
So these were posted by Axios on X all together on a thread. Not sure when/if they'll post the whole conversation, but from these highlights, we kind of know the narrative already and direction that Alex Karp is talking about in regards to AI, Europe, and the United States, as well as who he thinks will be the winners and losers of AI in the near future. He literally calls Europe startup scene as anemic, which really opens way for the United States to dominate. And he always sprinkles in his personal views as a progressive. And yes, for those new, should know that he is very economically progressive when it comes to welfare, which I'd say is closer to the European model of taking care of poor people versus the bootstraps narrative in the United States. Both have their own merits and issues, of course, and I have my own opinions, but he really rounds out his business leader persona when he talks about these personal views. Now, in addition to these clips, Axios also released an article with these points here, with the big headliner saying Alex Karp thinks within 10 years, around 95% of the world's top tech companies will be American. And that's thanks to the US lead in AI. There is some overlap, of course, with the released clips and this article. Now, thinking about this more deeply, though, for a second, this coincides with the backseat that Europe seems to be taking when it comes to technological innovation, at least in comparison to the United States. Now, in regards to specifically AI and the military, there is no doubt in my mind that this narrative will play out, especially with the aggressive investments I see in the near future due to all the conflicts popping up, and most likely with the Taiwan Strait 2 coming next and control of that for sure this decade as China faces more economic pressures. And that's why Karp brings up the United States barely spends on their military in regards to software and technology around 1%, if even. It might even be less. So, of course, that would help out Palantir directly if there is any traction in increasing that. But just for the good of the country to be on top when it comes to military technology is crucial. And, of course, increasing the budget would also have other players want to go in and try to go after that money. And this coincides well with his comments around Europe due to this gap in investment on both the commercial and military front when it comes to technology and big tech. So, he's spoken out on this specific topic many times before, so this isn't new, honestly, and this has been on the world stage before. Now, it will definitely take a couple years to play out and verify if we as a country actually increase this or if our allies do so as well. But I think regardless of whatever administration gets into the office after the 2024 election, the narrative will have to be in the same direction of defending our allies and protecting United States interests around the world. Now, if there becomes a limitation, like he mentioned, with which countries that these companies work with should do business with, so be it. If there are important innovations that shouldn't be shared with these adversarial countries to steal mainly China, at least for Palantir, they've done the most they could do, basically saying no business with adversaries, no China, Russia, Iran, or of course North Korea, and so on. So seeing if Alex Karp ends up right in more conflict-ridden world can be quite disheartening for those looking for peace, but at least for those prepared, there can be a bright spot in it all. You just need to go back to the winners you believe will come out on top, and even sprinkling in a tiny bit of career advice, his vision is for those doing the hard work now in the mid to large size organizations tackling AI is a good bet in his opinion, but having a little skepticism or worry for the smaller players trying to break in. Now, in other news too, at WEF, Palantir also hosted the victims of the Hamas terrorist attacks with hostages and families of those in still captivity. So I just hope it goes to say this should not be controversial at all, honestly. Palantir's support for Israel is to deter from this happening ever again, especially to a Western ally in the region. It's not kill all or whatever as the narrative seems to be going from the uninformed. It's truly from a place of realism that peace is enforced with power. So do as you want with this information, but I think the intentionality of Palantir's Pavilion being the one to host this talk speaks volumes. And that's all they did. No plug or trying to put in their 2 cents, just letting the victims and or their families speak. And I'm sure all of you have also seen the news that Palantir's next quarterly earnings report will be out on Monday after hours, February 5, 2024. This will finally give the full year results for 2023, and hopefully we see some positive surprises, if any. Some are speculating there should be good news, though, that management wants to share because it's earlier in February than last year, which took place for Q4 2022's earnings on February 13th of 2023. So honestly, this isn't any indication to me personally in either direction unless they had to adjust the time that was already released. So if Palantir wants a report on the 5th, so be it there. I'm not going to read into it. And that makes me curious about what you think. If earnings is about a week earlier than we are expecting, at least based off last year, do you think that actually means good news here, especially when it comes to AIP and the boot camps? I don't really know, but I want to know what you think, so just comment down below. As noted, this is the second Palantir Daily for today, though. Huge new interviews are out or coming out, and this was earlier in the day. So if you haven't seen the first one already, view it right here. But thanks for tuning in with much more news expected to come out shortly, and I'll see you in the next video.